Oh, Spotify was really quiet anyway. Hello. Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've been live here, so I hope everyone's having a great Friday. Good afternoon to you if you're on the East Coast. Good morning if you're on the West Coast. And good day everywhere else in any other time zone. So I am hoping you're all having a great sort of holiday season-ish. If you're feeling like a Grinch, which I can totally understand, I relate to you. I feel you. Is Hanukkah over? I feel like it started really early this year, but happy all the things. Happy all the things. So I thought, oh, that's a good ending. Actually, I'll just turn the music off. I thought instead of doing a regular vlog today, I would come and talk about an issue which a lot of people ask me about, but I never really felt ready to talk about it. And it is, what is the strategy for living with people who aren't on the same boat as you are in terms of keeping your home organized and neat and finding things. And I just want to give you guys some strategies that I've discovered by both living with other people and also talking with clients who have the same issue, and just things I've learned in general about what it's like and what the strategy is for keeping your sanity if someone you live with or your kids or whatever aren't on the same level as you are in terms of, or just aren't there with you in terms of home organization. So hope you're looking forward to it. Hello, Suli. Hello, Isabel. That's a hard name. Hannah Bun Chan. Hello, Alex, Shawnette, Nancy, Chelia, Ellen, and Shawnette. Hello, and Berry Crossing. I'm so glad you guys are here with me today. So the first thing that I have realized when dealing with other people and organized spaces based on people who are very organized and people who don't have the same priorities is that acceptance is going to be a very important part of the equation when it comes to the highly organized or neat person. So if you are the neat person in the relationship or living in the house, whether it's your roommate or whatever, then there's going to be a level of compromise that you're going to have to accept. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but when it comes to living with other people, and this is coming from somebody who was an only child and am not used to sharing my space with other people, that there is a level of acceptance that you are going to have to accept about compromise. So the acceptance that it's probably never going to be as neat as you want it all the time unless you live alone is going to help you sort of keep all of your sanity together. So, and my second strategy is to communicate with whoever you're living with about what their priorities are in terms of keeping the home organized and neat. So I find that let's say my level of like where things should be neat and organized, my husband does not have the same priorities. Like, he can leave dishes in the sink for days and it doesn't bother him. It doesn't make his way wrong and my way right. It's just different. So my first strategy is to sit down and talk with individuals living with you. If you're the same age, there's different strategies for children, which we'll talk about in a minute. And talk about what your priorities are and ask them what their priorities are. And and what the expectation is for you to feel comfortable. So I know that there's a level of neatness and a level of like order where certain neat people feel comfortable. The other people in the relationship, or if it's your roommates or whatever, they may not know this. Unless they have access to this information, they're going to just live to the level of whatever their comfort is. And it's your job to communicate if that's not where you feel comfortable. And so somewhere where you can meet in the middle. So whether that's like a house meeting where you all talk about like what it's like, what your household was like growing up, and what makes you uncomfortable versus what makes you, what you can kind of let slide. Like personally, I love to have like the dishes done all the time. It makes me so anxious when the dishes are kind of sitting in the sink, but I don't have the same level of care when it comes to, I think, like a level of dirt in places, like, because we leave the house a lot, right? And there's dirt coming from outside all the time. And if there's a little dirt and dust around, I can hold off on starting the Roomba for like a couple of days. That's my level of tolerance with like different things. But you want to communicate those preferences with people you're living with so that you can come to an understanding. And again, accept that they may not be able to meet you at your level of comfort. So be prepared to step forward and move things out of the way if you need like all the socks to be off the floor. And let's be honest, I don't like socks on the floor. I don't think a lot of people like socks on the floor, but if something really bothers you and you are waiting for someone to clean it up and you're having that feeling of resentfulness, you know what I mean? When, you see the socks on the floor and it's maybe your husband or your girlfriend or your partner or whatever left them there, and you're looking at those pairs of socks with contempt. You know what I mean? You're just looking at them and you're like, I am so mad that they just left them there. It's, I know they did it to like just get at me. I know that it's not personal. So I want to take that away from the situation. The level of stuff that's left around in the house, it's not personal, okay? It's just something that happens. So I think that coming from a place of trying not to judge the situation, even though I know it feels like that, it's not personal. It's not a personal attack against you most of the time. I feel like maybe like 1% of the time, someone's pushing someone else's buttons, but that I like to go into the world assuming that people have good intentions. And in general, I've found, and I've lived 44 years on Earth, that people in general do have good intentions, and that nothing is really that personal. Because a lot of the time, I'm realizing that other people care more about what's going on in their own bubble than trying to get at you. Okay, so the less we realize that we're all kind of living in our own little area of worry and we're thinking about ourselves and what we're going to do next, that it's less about getting at you than it is about either not understanding what the expectations are or just absent-mindedness. Isabel says, I feel in that the 1% where socks on the floor are a personal attack. I know, I can relate. I feel that in my heart, there I can feel that. I can feel that. 808, I'll get to your question. Actually, let me just put it on screen right now. You just moved, and what do I pack up? Oh, you're moving. What do you pack up to make the move less stressful? Declutter first. Declutter first before you pack a single box. And then pack the stuff that is decorations and stuff you don't need for living. You know what I mean? Like the tchotchkes and stuff. That's what I would recommend. So after you've had the expectation about what you think would make you the most comfortable in the home, and I'm talking about this from the perspective of a neat person. And don't misunderstand, I don't live with a messy person. My husband's standards aren't the same as mine, but he's not messy per se. However, I have lived with messy people in the past. So there's two kinds of spaces which I like to separate, and that they have two different kinds of things going on with them. There's common spaces where everybody uses: kitchen, living room, maybe family room if you have a family room, entryway. And there are personal spaces, like people's individual rooms. If there's like a playroom. Margaret, you're right on time. So I like to make sure that clients and the people I'm talking to respect common spaces and also respect personal spaces. So, and to also put expectations about what is to happen in the common space. So, common spaces are like, let's say, the living room. I feel it is a level of respect to keep the common spaces usable. Not necessarily like neat and organized, but usable for everyone in the household. And make those distinctions for people living in your household, and talk about them, because common spaces may be really important to the person who you're living with, who you may think is disorganized or not neat. It may be very important to them to keep them neat, but maybe they didn't know how to say anything to you, or they didn't know how to communicate that with you. And I also want to say that, and this applies a lot to more families living together, there should be a certain amount of respect for personal spaces. This means your child's room, your husband's office, your girlfriend's, personal craft space or whatever. If those spaces, for me personally, and children's rooms are a little bit different, are off limits for the neat person trying to insert themselves in every space. I feel like it's as much as I want to sort of pick up a personal space, like if it's someone's office, it's not my responsibility to help them with that unsolicited. Children's rooms are different, I think, a little bit. There's a little bit of both, respecting the personal space and also helping them and develop important habits. And that is sort of a push and pull, which is different from if you were living with a roommate and stuff. And also children's brains are still developing. That's a whole separate thing we'll talk about a little later. But just make sure that you make the distinction between personal personal spaces and common spaces. Common spaces may have different rules than personal spaces. Now, if the person needs help with their personal space and they recruit you, that's another story, right? But I respect personal spaces and do not try and organize or go in there unsolicited. I say that do that with any space. And it often comes with people calling me and saying, my mother needs help. My aunt has this messy house and she needs help. Can you help her? And I usually tell them to please have them call me themselves, because it's kind of like, if they're happy living in their situation, unless it's a danger to their health, and or if they're a danger to themselves, that's another story. But if they live in a cluttered space and it is not harmful to their lifestyle, their health, and other people's health, then it's none of my business. Okay. The next piece of advice I have for people who are trying to get their housemates on board with organization is to, and this applies mostly to people living in more intimate relationships where this can get to be a thing. So like husbands, wives, girlfriends, partnerships, whatever, is to try not to nag. I know it's difficult. as a neat person to start to feel, because this is where that goes back to feeling where it feels like a personal attack, those socks on the floor, but to try not to nag about the disorganization or like the lack of picking the socks up off the floor. It's almost like, positive reinforcement, and this goes into the thing that with positive reinforcement. So, and I also know this is hard too, and I really should try a little more to practice what I preach. But when the more organized person, the more neat person notices an attempt by the person living with them, who it's not as high as a priority, make an effort to meet them in the middle, to really acknowledge them and to give them a really great positive feedback and acknowledge that they are doing great in your eyes. Even if it's not up to your standard, because I know that neat people have these standards. I, as a neat person, can tell you that I definitely have those standards. And that if things aren't done good enough, then I have to go back and, re-clean or redo the thing. This happens a lot in my life with the dishes. I have to have the dishes like really clean, like super clean. But I want to try and say, I so appreciate you going through and doing all the dishes after I cooked dinner last night. That was so helpful. Thank you so much. That's all you have to do. And I know it's hard because you want to nitpick and you want to be like, oh, it's not clean enough. Or, I wish you'd have cleaned the sink too. Just let it go. Let it go. You have to make sure that you're remembering that you do have to compromise and that you're going to meet somewhere in the middle. And it's not always going to be done to your standards. It's hard. It is hard. It's a hard thing. And, but over time, you'll create this positive relationship with whomever you're living with, because you're not going to nag. You're not going to act like it's a personal attack if they don't live up to your standards, because it isn't. And you're going to give them positive feedback when they try to work with you. Okay. In terms of people bringing things into the home, especially when it's about your partner, because with roommates, I don't think it's as much of an issue, because when roommates are shopping, they're buying things for themselves, and they don't. It's not like they're buying like a bunch of lamps, right? When it comes to your partner or your child, or bringing things into the home to go in the common space, and you think it is excessive, then you also have to communicate about that as well. I've found that certain conditions, certain neurodivergent situations will cause someone to be very impulsive, right? Some people are very impulsive. They get really amazing ideas about needing to buy items all of a sudden. And they may bring them home and use them for a week or two and then get tired of them. And then you're left with whatever the clutter is, right? That's a really difficult thing to deal with. But just know that that is part of some people's process, and that I want to encourage you to do your best to encourage them to keep on with that, like, declutter, because, and I often find that people don't have trouble decluttering. This is what I find. I do talk to people who have trouble letting items go, right? But most of the time when I go to people's homes, they don't have trouble decluttering. They just need the motivation, and they need someone there giving them an encouragement. Encouragement. So, oh my gosh, Glamzine, hello. And hello to everyone who's come in since I started yapping. And hello, oh, hi from Germany. Oh my goodness. Guten Abend. So, and I always want to encourage people to be compassionate with the behaviors that you might find a little frustrating is to try to be compassionate, because people are really flexible, and we are all the neural pathways and stuff are always really we can learn new habits, but it might take someone else a longer time than it took you. Just be very patient and try to practice compassion. When it comes to children, this is what I found, and I've worked with many homes that have children, and I have just a few tips that are exclusive to children growing up in the household. If you want to encourage them to develop good organizing habits, is to remember that keeping a neat and organized home is a habit that you develop. It's not. Some people can be born with a trait that is to where you have the propensity for it, but it is a habit that you can develop, and that you are encouraging them to have good habits, and their brains are still developing. And a lot of the strategies are the same. Try not to nag. Try not to nag, and make it fun for them to put items back in their homes. First of all, make sure that everything does have a home in their room, especially because there's a whole thing that I've seen where parents get so into buying kids toys and items, and I know that it's very satisfying and very fun to see the reaction of the child opening the toy, and it's just there's something about it that makes you feel really good as a parent. But the items that come into their lives, they need to have respect for, and they need to have a home for. So I feel like teaching your children to have respect for their items, right? Treat them well, take care of them, and to make sure they have a place to go when they're done playing with them. These are the two, I think, most important things that parents sometimes miss in terms of teaching their children how to have a good relationship with the items in their lives. I don't think that items are like superficial or not important. Items are important. They're transitional items. Like when you if you're a child and you don't co-sleep with your parents for a really long time, you move from maybe you're sleeping with them, and then you move to a bed by yourself and a room by yourself. You may feel a little lonely, and you don't have your parent to hug at night, so you reach for your teddy bear, right? That's a transitional item, and you become sort of emotionally attached to your teddy bear. I don't think items are inherently a bad thing. I know a lot of people talk about, don't value items, and there's a lot of talk in the minimalism community about like getting rid of all your personal belongings, right? I don't want to villainize personal belongings, but I want to help you develop good relationship with these belongings. Whether it's realizing that items are not people, right? And that the items are just triggers for memories. But I don't want you to hate them and think that they are, the cause, the root of all evil and things. So teaching your children to develop good relationships with their items, I think, is going to be the most important in terms of helping them develop good habits to keep a neat and organized place. Make the act of putting away things a game for them. Gamifying life is the way to make it fun. I am a person, I love games. Y'all know I love video games. Heather, thank you so much. How cold is it in Minnesota? I want to know. I love games. And most children love games too, right? Actually, most people love games. Most people love games. And gamifying anything automatically makes it more fun. Y'all remember Pokemon Go, right? Pokemon Go was introduced in 2016. It was a mobile app where you could go out and catch Pokemon, but you had to actually get off your couch and go outside and go walk. They gamified exercise, and they made millions of people get off their couch and go walk. Millions. Do the same thing with tidying up the room. How fast can you do it? How many things can you get put away in 5 minutes? You set a clock. You make sure there's a prize. And you give them good incentive. And it's fun. I also want you to forgive your children and your spouses and your roommates or whatever for not being perfect in the past. And to leave it there. Don't bring it up. That's another thing that's really hard for the neat person, right? Is to say, I saw you left your homework on the table yesterday and you didn't bring it to school. I don't want you to do that again. Well, I mean, I'm 100% sure that the child remembers that they left their homework on the counter, and they feel bad about it. But that's in the past. Focus on the now and help them be the best they can right now. Because I know that if any children are like me when I was a child, and I'm very much still in touch with my inner child, is that when I made mistakes or didn't live up to my parents' expectations or whatever, I remembered it. I remembered it, and I wasn't perfect at correcting my behavior, right? I was still learning, my brain was still developing, but I remembered every single time I made a mistake. So, try to focus on the now and the future with your children, your roommate, your best friend, your spouse, whatever, so that they can be better going forward, and instead of reminding them of the mistakes they made in the past, or mistakes that you thought they made in the past. They might not be mistakes. Just leaving socks on the floor, frankly, isn't like a mistake, right? It's just a behavior. So maybe let's take away the stigma of that. It's just a behavior that you didn't like. My mop is here. My robot mop is here. Heather, it's 16 degrees and whoo, that's cold. It's cold. What advice do you have for parents who may feel too much sentimental attachment to the toys their kids have grown out of? Genosaurus, I have seen that a lot. That is something that has been brought up a lot. I'm going to stop the mop for a minute while I'm talking. She's doing a great job, but she's very loud. Oh no, it's not connected. Hold on. So, I do find that the parents develop a lot of sentimental attachment to the toys. Isn't that strange, right? It's kind of the children get the toys and they're playing with them, and after a while they just kind of grow out of them, and they don't need them anymore. And I find that the parents are very attached to the toys because they saw the children playing with like the Barbie or whatever, and it brings you those memories of maybe when they were younger or maybe at a different time, and you feel like if you got rid of them, you're getting rid of that part of their childhood. And it's important to realize that you're not, that the items is just a trigger for a memory, and that it is important to, I do feel like it's very important to teach your children that when items are no longer serving them, that they should move on to another place where they will serve someone else better. And I encourage you to make this a memory for the two of you so that it in turn becomes a memory with that toy. So let's say the child is done playing with Barbies, like they're just done with Barbies. But you feel like, oh my God, Barbies, I loved watching him play with Barbies, or, it was just so sweet. It can be a memory for you to gather up all of the toys that are no longer serving them, right? They're no longer interested in it. And to either have like a yard sale or to take them to a donation place where they can be toys for kids who can't afford those toys. And it can be a memory for the two of you, because I remember growing up and feeling, and I was an only child, with two very successful parents who allowed me to have a very privileged childhood, right? So on Christmas, I got whatever I wanted. Whatever was on my list, it was under the Christmas tree, except for a pony. It was never under the Christmas tree, or a dog. And when I was done playing with toys, they stayed in my collection. And when I was a teenager, I noticed that I had all of these things, and that the things I had toys from, my very young childhood in the basement in this toy chest. And they were taking up a lot of space, but I never really did anything about it. I just kind of left them. And I noticed that a lot of my clothes were still around, and a lot of things were still around from like my childhood. And we never decluttered anything. And my parents moved about 3 years ago, I think, from their house to a small communal living facility for retired people, because my father developed a dementia. And they spent a long time decluttering items because they had never, ever done it. And it was very stressful for them. I had to come down and assist. I scanned all kinds of documents that I had written. I was very much into writing when I was younger. I wrote a lot of fiction and stories and things like that. And I asked my father how often he had ever decluttered, and he said never. Never. However, the act of spending time with him and speaking with him about the items, and I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional because he's not doing great right now. So, because Alzheimer's is a degenerative disease. But I spent 4 hours with him, going through all of his shirts and pants and asking him if they fit or not. And we got rid of a lot of things, out the door. But it was the sweetest, most loveliest 4 hours I had spent with my father in a long time. And that memory is worth more than the things that have left. So I hope that helps, because the action of spending time together and moving items to where they'll benefit from someone else, and that is really where decluttering is important to me, is that these items have served you, right? But you no longer need them, but someone else is going to love them and use them and need them and benefit from them. And the action of doing that together, or talking about, what's going to happen to the items, imagining, another kid playing with the Barbies now, what stories they'll make up, what stories you made up with your Barbies. Those are memories. But they don't live in things. They are just triggers for memories. So, thank you, Hannah. And that is what I want to encourage, is about teaching children to have better relationships with items. Because there's a fine line between emotionally attached to items, right? Yeah, everybody has that really important teddy bear, stuffed animal but they think is great. And it's, it smells like them. It's kind of, I had this rabbit, stuffed rabbit called Dee Dee. No, Tina. Tina was the one that that I carried everywhere a lot. And everything else was not important. Everything else was not important. Everything else, if it got lost or in a flood or whatever, I would have been fine. But not Dee Dee or Tina. Tina and Dee Dee, I had two. One was small and one was big. But Tina, my mom sewed her eye back on like 4 times or something. So it's just know that you can develop really intimate relationships with some items, but you don't have to have that same relationship with all of your items. So, I think that was it. So, I didn't want to be live for like a super long time today because I'm going live on the gaming channel in like an hour. So, oh my gosh, my husband is like texting me about, he just got his booster shot, and I made an appointment for like the 28th. So I'm just trying to like, but he's like, they're doing walk-ins, and I'm like, do I want that now? I'm like, I don't know. Would you say if the same belongs to someone who passed away? I have a hard time with a few things from my grandmother. That's a good question. It's hard. It's very hard. If you have a few things and you can afford to keep them, I say keep them. If they remind you of your grandmother and it's not interfering with your life. I feel like if these items are interfering with the function of your life, how much you can move around your house, and there's an issue. But I do think it's okay to keep a few things that remind you of someone who is not in your life anymore. Your husband, you're doing your your booster on Monday. I'm so like, but just keep in mind again that items are not people. It is really difficult to feel like items do not have the essence of that person, because it does feel like that. But to also give yourself appropriate time to decide what can stay and what can go of the things that you have. Just be kind to yourself about taking the appropriate grieving time. I know that it feels like you may need to, go and get rid of the extra stuff from, the what was left behind for you. And it's going to take some time. So give yourself some time. Now, I mean, it takes as much time as you need. I do feel like maybe like if it's getting on in years, maybe that might be something to look at, but give yourself some time. Let's see. Oh, you feel inspired to declutter your son's closet now. Let's do it. Help him out. Help him out. I also have an only child who has a lot. This summer we'll get a ton of toys and Barbies for free at the end of our driveway. That's awesome. She loved watching the other kids come and get excited for him. That's great, Heather. See, that's awesome. See, I feel like the thing that's important is the joy, seeing the joy in other people when they get things that are going to help them. And it does a few things. It helps them to develop healthy relationships with the items in their life, and it teaches them to be compassionate and to share the things with others. I wish I had the opportunity to do that more as a child. I love giving stuff away. I love it. Like things I'm not using, or things that I just have used or don't fit anymore. Like we just moved and we had a bunch of stuff that just didn't fit in our new space, whether it's like boxes and drawer organizers, things like that. And I'm just like, just give them away. So I've been having so much fun with like Facebook Marketplace where people are so excited to come get the item. Like you have no idea. Like I put some alpha drawer units on there and people were like, ah, I need to come get, and they're so happy when they're coming to take it away. I'm like, good luck. Like, I hope it fits. And it made you feel so good. And then when you're assuring that your item gets new life, like it's not just going to get thrown in the garbage or something. Because I love to make sure that like things get reused as much as possible. I mean, if they're really damaged and they need to be thrown away, that's another story. But if they can be given new life, give them new life. It's great. It's great. And I want to make sure that I think I wanted to make sure that I got this message across close to the holidays where people are tend to acquire more items, if you know what I mean. And I've stopped actually buying a lot of gifts for other people around Christmas because I find that it matters to them less and less that I give them items and it more and more that we have like quality time together. Right? I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but I found that buying Christmas gifts or holiday gifts is less important at this point, especially with the pandemic. We're all sort of together. It's created I think a shift in priorities. I also wanted to have this convo because we're all living together close. A lot of people are working from home now. And it can create a huge set of issues, you know? Like if you're at home all the time, then it's a whole new ball of wax, kettle of fish. It's a whole new thing. And it's tough to navigate. It's tough. It's tough if like you've been going to the office and you're not home to mess up the place, you know, all day. Then all of a sudden you're home all day and you're messing up the place. It's different. I feel like it's created a lot of issues because in the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of people were home and they were unsatisfied at what they were looking at around. They were like, oh my gosh, I have to declutter everything. I have to like organize everything. And then now people are home and they're realizing that they don't like the way that other people are living with them. So it's created an interesting scenario, and I thought we would talk about it. Chloe, you're part of the Buy Nothing group. Oh my God, that's great. That's great. And Free Cycle is another good place where like people can just come up, pick up stuff off the curb. It's great. Like you know that it's good. You know what I found that like got the biggest like response from Free Cycle is like craft items. Like old fabric, yarn, stuff like that. I had a client who like didn't want any of that stuff. And I was like, oh, I'll just put it on Free Cycle. And it got so many hits. It was so many people were like, really want that stuff. So you never know. You really never know. I've been gifting sustainable goods, appliances that can be used around the house. We love that. We love it. I love it. I love gifts that can be either that are either experiences, and this is more difficult with the pandemic, or that are consumable. You like popcorn or, you know, fancy coffee or whatever, if you know somebody's going to use. That's I find much more satisfying than just a toy or something. You do need to buy Facebook Marketplace. You do. Because and hello, Hannah. Sorry, that was the wrong comment. Facebook Marketplace, it is so hot. It's so hot. And part of me hates listing stuff on there because it's just a lot. Because you get a lot of messages and you're like, just come and get this now. Come and get it. But it's very helpful. Very helpful. We do a gift game. We throw dice and no one knows what's in them. Oh, that's fun. There can be edible things in them. That's fun. I hope there are things that everyone likes. We can put Imagine if it's like all like just uh like things that are polarizing, like pineapple on pizza. Or I feel like pineapple on pizza is a really hot, like very, very hot debate amongst people about like whether or not pineapple on pizza is good. I happen to like pineapple on pizza. That's just me though. I happen to think pineapple on pizza is amazing. But I know some people are like want to put you in jail if you say you like pineapple on pizza, you know? So, oh my gosh. Pineapple is delicious on pizza, and if you don't have to eat it, mind your own. It's true. It's true. It's true. All right, friends. I gotta get off here because I gotta take a little break for till the next live stream on the other channel. But I hope this was beneficial. I hope. It's been a long time since I've come in here and talked, but I feel like this was good instead of like the lame vlog that I was gonna update today or upload today. I think I'm gonna upload it on Monday. There are like prearranged videos to go up tomorrow and Sunday, but I didn't want to push it to today. What do you suggest that we're at home most of the time? Do you think rearranging furniture in rooms might make a difference? It could be, you know what? I mean, it could be fun. That was what I spent my childhood doing, is rearranging furniture in my room. That's what I did. It was fun. It can change like the feng shui, the feel of the room for sure. There's a crazy truck outside, but like, I don't know, try it. It's definitely fun. All right, I gotta go. Please take care of yourselves, and I will see you on the other side. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Go.